Welcome to the Week Ahead, a podcast by SBM Intelligence. I'm your host, Veronica Pana Igube. Every Saturday, we explore stories that are shaping the African continent. BVN enrollment in Nigeria increased to 64.83 million by January 2025. To support Nigerians abroad, the CBN introduced the BVN platforms and two new accounts to simplify funds transfer and investment in multiple currencies. How will these initiatives improve financial inclusion for Nigerians in the diaspora? Environmentalists are opposing plans to restart oil production in Ogoniland, demanding a $1 trillion cleanup, community engagement, and the implementation of the UN report before any operations resumes. What steps should be prioritized to ensure environmental justice in Ogoniland? Ghana's President Mahama appointed an envoy to the Sahel Alliance, formed by Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso, to rebuild ties and strengthen regional cooperations. Key domestic appointments also reflect a focus on political and economic stability. How can Ghana effectively rebuild trust with the Sahel nations? Stanley Ikechukwu, Head of Operations at SBM Intelligence, joins us for insights on these critical stories. Welcome, Stanley.
Thank you, Veronica, for having me. Good evening.
Yes, let's get into the stories. Let's start with the CBN's new creation for incorporating Nigerians in the diaspora. Now, beyond addressing banking needs, what broader economic opportunities do you see the non-resident Nigerians account, which has been created by the CBN? What opportunities does it create for both Nigeria and for Nigerians in the diaspora?
Um, Thank you for that question. So let's look at what a bank account does generally. The bank account does savings, withdrawal, deposits, and digital transfer. And also the accounts that CBN just created, the Nigerian non-resident Nigerian ordinary accounts and non-resident Nigerian investment accounts. These accounts are not, I don't think there's anything extraordinary about it. It's still the same banking kind of accounts. The one that is the ordinary account is like your savings and your current accounts where you deposit money and you make transfer. In this move that CBN has made, what I see is that they are trying to cut off the third parties. There's the third party apps that are allowing Nigerians in the diaspora do basic transfer into their local accounts. And I also see it as a move where CBN wants to track foreign remittances in real time. You know, because if you ask me, Nigerians before they left for abroad or overseas, many of them have accounts here. So creating another type of account for them there, there's no much of a difference there. But these accounts also have some certain type of caveats. Let's look at the ordinary non-Nigerian residents ordinary accounts. The caveat there is that you can actually transfer money you can transfer FX into this account to enable you make certain type of payment, maybe pay staff salary or pay for things in Nigeria, which if you're running your normal Nigerian account before you left the country, you might require some paperwork, maybe send a message to your account officer to help you send him like a letter, a note to them saying that I want to make such transfer, so it should be approved. But this time around, those third party involvements are no longer in it. Now, in this account, you can directly deposit, you can do transfer from abroad, but you cannot receive local deposits in that account. That's the Nigerian non-residents ordinary accounts. You cannot have local deposits into that account. So that's one of the caveats in it. Then the non-resident investment account is the same kind of investment accounts where you you can use it to buy stock, buy Eurobonds, buy treasury bills, and all of those things. And CBN has said, with that investment, you can also pull out, I mean, get your money back in dollar if you wish to withdraw dollar in the account. So it takes away the whole third party processes in it, makes it very simple. So the whole BVN thing, they've also made it very simple that you don't need to go through the hassle of bringing um I mean the process, they've made it very short, but they still would, follow international standard, which is the KYC, your place of residence, any bill, any means of bills, you know, any means at all of identification and all of those things. But what it has also done, or what it will do, is that it will increase the accessibility. The new BVN platform will enable Nigerians abroad to access financial services easily, regardless of their location. It will also, simplify funds transfer. The new accounts, I mean, Nigerians in the diaspora can transfer funds seamlessly without the hassle of navigating complex financial system. The investment part also, like I said, it gives you access to invest without having to go through third parties. So the long and short of this whole thing is that one, is to take away third party involvement in the transaction. If you look at how this banking system also operates abroad, where maybe a foreigner comes into Nigeria, before they leave, they always leave a message to their bank and say, okay, I'll be leaving the country for so country. If you notice any transaction from another country, know I was actually the person involved in it. So there will be no need to lock down those kind of accounts. So it's similar to what the new CBN accounts would do for Nigerians in the diaspora.
I know it's really interesting that, like the CBN is taking all these steps because I mean, we saw like in December, we see a lot of people coming back home, and we saw a lot of inflow of cash as well into the economy. So do you think like with the creation of these new accounts, I mean, you earlier stated that, oh, people before they left to the diaspora, they already had their own their bank accounts already with banks in Nigeria. Do you think that this creates a distinction that a lot of them would there be a large move to this initiative? Would there be a buy-in from Nigerians in the diaspora that to take advantage of these new accounts that the CBN is giving?
Well, it is, yeah. I see that. I see it as a good move that Nigerians in diaspora will take advantage of this. And the reason why I said that is because the only way you can actually do, or one of the only ways you can actually do transfers from diaspora into your Nigerian accounts is to make use of a third party app. And you would agree with me that over time, CBN has been doing a lot of blocking of this, not granting access to some of these apps. But every other day, there are new apps that are able to send money from abroad into your local accounts, does the conversion and all of those things. But with this new bank account, CBN is saying you don't need to patronize or use the third party app. You can just do the transfer directly from your foreign account into your Nigerian account. Like I said, I think it's more of tracking foreign remittances in real time.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, I like you said, I look forward to also, I'm sure that the CBN will track foreign remittance, as you said, and we'll see how it will, help the Nigerian economy. Let's move to the Oboni oil production story concern. So over the years, Ogoniland has had, this environment. I mean, the Nigerian government had started the cleanup, there had been a lot of back and forth. And now we are experiencing the start of like new oil production. And, environmentalists have challenged this and says, we can't go forward with this. So given the legacy of the environmental degradation in Ogoniland, what specific actions must the Nigerian government take before considering oil production again, as it has faced a lot of opposition from environmentalists?
Okay, thank you for that question. You agree with me that for these environmentalists to come up and say you cannot commence exploration in our land without having to do the necessary things. It means that previous governments have also tried, and there's been a cleanup process, but the process hasn't been very transparent. That is why the people are saying no. We really do not trust this move because they've had series of meetings in the past. There's been court cases. A Dutch court has actually given verdicts on the environmental pollution in Ogoniland by on Shell. We've also had the Supreme Court. I mean, and around 15 million euros or thereabouts was said to be paid to the Ogoni people for the cleanup. We've also had a similar case here in Nigeria where the Supreme Court also gave a verdict, against Shell, and such those amounts were paid. But at the end, if you go to Ogoniland today, it's still a mess. It's still the same thing that it has always been. And the people are saying that before any of these things, before oil exploration would start, government needs to revisit this thing. And this time around, they should be very transparent and show accountability. The gas flaring has to stop. The pipes that have been abandoned, are causing, it's a threat to their marine life. And you agree with me that Ogoni people, it's a coastal area, and most of them, their daily living is, fishing and agriculture. But this oil spillage and all of those things has had major effects on their farmlands and even the sea. They cannot fish. The water has been poisoned. The lands are also not very good, to cultivate crops. And they are saying that the government has to do the right thing. I think it was like 2 days ago, the president had a meeting with people, some persons from the Ogoni land. Yeah, the king was there. The minister of FCT, Nelson Wike, that was the former River State governor. The current governor, Simla Ifubari, was also there, and a couple of Ogoni people, and the president gave the directive to say, okay, they should go ahead with the negotiation, and he left that on the table of the NSA chairman. That's no rebuttal. But some of the people who were there said the president didn't really engage them. He just made a statement and said, okay, go ahead and continue the engagement with the NSA. And they went to the NSA, and it was as if it's a script. They already have decided what they want to do, that they'll set up a committee and all of those things. Previous administrations have done that. So using the same templates in the same scene, the people are saying no, we've seen all of this before. You need to come clean. So in talking about cleaning up the environment, the government, if they are sincere enough, they need to take immediate actions, do things like clean up and remediation, implement comprehensive cleanup and remediation plan. There was a plan, and this plan was created by UN, but the plan itself has not been followed up through. And the people are saying, let's go back to the UN reports, and implement all what UN, said in that report. There also needs to be community engagements. Having to select a few people to represent the Ogoni people makes a lot of sense. But when you meet with the president, top high-ranking people, they might not be able to express they might not be able to express themselves freely because one, many of them are also going there for their pockets. Many of these activists are going there for their pocket. But if you talk to the people on ground, they really are not scared. They would air all what they feel is wrong in the community. They will say it exactly how it is. They will not be missing like what some of those leaders might do there. So they're saying, let's have proper community engagement. Talk to the people on the lower cadres so you understand their pain and their agony and what they are going through. We also need to see transparency and accountability. Like I said earlier, there's been series of cases like this before. The Shehu Shagari government had a similar case, you know, and still yet there hasn't been any difference in Ogoniland. So there needs to be proper transparency and accountability in ensuring transparency in all the operations and assessments, that the government will be taking. They also need to look at the long-term strategy, like sustained developments. They also need to do more of environmental monitoring, like set up a team that would make sure that whoever is exploring oil in Ogoniland follows to the letter the simple processes to make sure that the environment rather is not degraded again. The environment is so that they follow up the whole environmental process so that there will be no spill of oil or gas flaring and all of those things. The government also needs to look at capacity building. So capacity building I'm talking about here is not just awarding contracts for pipeline security. Ogoni people have also gone to school. They have marine engineers, they have civil engineers, they have, you know, different types of engineers that the government in building capacity can also get these people or whatever oil exploration company is coming in, to take a certain quota of people within that community and give them jobs because the people who do these pipeline surveillance and all of that, it's really not a job of the graduates. Let me put it that way. I don't know if there are graduates who are doing it, but I don't think it's a job that graduates from Ogoniland will want to take. So the government needs to engage them and have a broader conversation in all of these things.
I mean, it's interesting that you had stated all the things that the government needs to do. I mean, so what do you think going forward? I mean, we're an oil producing country, and we had this Oboni environmental crisis. So what steps can we do, like as a government, or the government can take to just ensure that we don't have a repeat in what has happened in Ogoniland as well? So what measures do you think we can put in place when we talk about oil companies coming into Nigeria and ensuring that even in exploring their oil, they are able to still maintain a balance with the environment?
Number one, there has to be accountability and transparency. The the environmental problem in Ogoniland is actually one of the reasons why the NDDC, the Niger Delta Development Council was set up for, to look into all these things. The agency was supposed to look at the entire 9 states, you know, under this and provide policies, come up with developmental plans on how they can, enhance development in some of these areas. And we know that the NDDC there's been a lot of money in and out of the NDDC, sorry. And the Niger Delta communities are still the way it is. So there has to be proper accountability of every kobo spent and what it's being spent for. Why are we spending this money? What is it that we're spending it on? We need to see all of those things. So accountability, transparency, and a corrupt-free, agency is required to actually look into all of these things. And also, very importantly, you need to talk to the people at the grassroots because they are the one feeling the heat. So the government needs to open up this conversation, not just with the key personnel in Ogoniland. They also need to talk to the fishermen because they are part of the whole stakeholder. Talk to the fishermen, talk to the farmers, know and see how this environmental problem is affecting their everyday lives.
True. And hopefully the NDDC can, continue the work that they're doing in ensuring that the preservation of the environment, even without oil exploration. So moving on to our last story, I know we saw Ghana's president sworn in, John Mahama, earlier this month, and we're seeing him hit the ground running and doing a lot of work. So recently he has um, try to, bridge bridge the gap and, chase regional diplomacy, if I may say. Now, with Ghana's re-engagement in the Sahel region through the alliance of Sahel states, what unique role can it play in fostering stability and cooperation in the region?
So the Sahel region is made up of about 10 states, and the Sahel itself is more like a passage, from Africa into Europe and some other African countries. So it's actually a very strategic region. It's also rich in uranium. it's rich in gas, it's rich in oil, it's rich in gold, it's rich in a lot of mineral resources. And the major problem that has, berating the Sahel has been insecurity. Nigeria on the other side, it's also part of that region, and the northern part of Nigeria has suffered a whole lot when it comes to insecurity. Cameroon is also a part of it. Burkina Faso, Mali, Chad, Senegal might not have had so much turbulence in terms of security, but it's a good move that the Ghanaian government is trying to foster peace and collaboration with the Sahel within the Sahel region. So Ghana can actually effectively rebuild trust, within the Sahel region by focusing on there are so many things that the Ghanaian government can do. Number one is they should look at the whole security situation there and foster security cooperation. Ghana can strengthen security ties with the Sahel nation by supporting initiatives that combats terrorism. Terrorism is a major and a big issue affecting the Sahel. So, trying to come up with security cooperation, is one of those moves that can foster, peace in the region. You also need to look at the economic development. Like I said, Sahel is very rich in mineral resources, and development around the Sahel region is actually far from what you expect when it comes to the amount of wealth on the ground in those regions. It doesn't come close to the development that is supposed to be there. So looking at the whole economic development, Ghana can actually promote economic development in the Sahel region by investing in infrastructure and investing in every other thing that can make that area as rich as it is on the ground to also look rich in on top of the land, rather than, the wealth is under the ground and people are taking the wealth, but people within that region are not even feeling the effects of a region that is, very rich in natural resources. There are also areas that he can look at, like diplomatic engagements and also humanitarian services and assistance across across that region. So Ghana can actually do all of those things by focusing in these key areas that I've mentioned.
Um, so as they do this, do you think that they will face any challenge or any pushback from other nations, within the Sahel?
Um, the truth is, everybody actually wants development to happen within their region, but the insecurity we're also seeing is also some people within that region, that also do not want development. So, in ensuring that some of these things happen, there will be areas where there will be pushbacks, but the cooperation is major. If the corporations within the countries, the presidents of all of those countries, by putting resources together, I'm sure they'll be able to overcome the pushbacks that they would face in carrying out the kind of development that the Sahel region actually needs.
Interesting. We look forward to that. That's all for today. Thank you, Stanley, for joining us on today's episode and for your insights, which definitely enriched our episode as well.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. To all our listeners, this podcast is by SBM Intelligence. You can access our podcast by searching for SBM Intelligence anywhere you find podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe if you're yet to, like, share, and drop a comment in the comment section. For deeper insights into our work, you can visit our website at sbmintel.com. And remember to connect with us on all our social media platforms. You can find us on X, Facebook, Blue Sky, and LinkedIn at SBM Intelligence. Thank you for tuning in to the week ahead. Join us next Saturday for more updates shaping the African continent.